Hey everyone, it's Deanna from DeannaCamille.com, your favorite event industry strategist and thought leader. So this weekend, I came across a new Tiny Desk concert, and Tiny Desk concerts are produced by NPR. They basically take these celebrities, these basically big names in the music industry, and they have what's called a Tiny Desk concert. It's a small concert with just, a very intimate audience, and it's acoustic. I thought it was really interesting. I saw in the comments that NPR has basically taken where MTV Unplugged was and taken over and run with it with the Tiny Desk concerts. And I think that's a really good way of describing it. So if you're not familiar, Kirk is basically a giant in the gospel music industry. And he had a plethora of hits in the 90s and the early 2000s in gospel music, and he still produces a lot of good gospel music to this day. But his Tiny Desk concert was produced this weekend, or published this weekend, and I got a chance to watch it. And Kirk and his crew just got my whole life together. I'm not gonna lie, that was 15 minutes, and I was just like enraptured the whole time, just fangirling, right? But as our good friend Tim Gunn from Project Runway used to say, make it work or make it fashion. How am I going to relate this to events? Well, you just watch. I got a couple tips for you, some epiphanies that came to me in terms of how we can learn from Tiny Desk, as well as Kirk Franklin, and apply that to our virtual event. So stick with me. All right, so in terms of Tiny Desk overall, what is the appeal, right? What is the great thing about Tiny Desk? I think the key is they take musicians that are either really popular and mainstream or just really musically gifted, and they put them in this stripped down, bare, taking away all the bells and whistles and letting them shine, let their talent be the focal point, right? So some of these Tiny Desk concerts have gotten millions and millions and millions of views because it's the idea of that intimacy and that rawness. Like I said, that comment about MTV Unplugged, and that was, I think, a big attraction of MTV Unplugged was the fact that they were acoustic. So no synthesizers, none of the fancy technical equipment. Like, it's just some drums, you have a guitar, a piano, like really stripped down to the bare necessities and the essentials, right? And still delivering a really captivating performance, right? And the takeaway that I have from that is that simple can still be effective. Simple can still be effective. I think right now event planners are really excited by all the different tools and capabilities we have for virtual events, but you can still have a powerhouse, dynamic, amazing experience for your attendees on Zoom or Microsoft Teams. You don't need all the bells and whistles. I'm not saying don't use them. I'm not saying research what's out there, but you can still deliver an excellent, amazing experience with really simple, pared down tools. So that's tip number one. What else can we take away from a Tiny Desk experience? Tip number two. These Tiny Desk concerts go viral because of the audience. The audience is engaged. They're looking for these concerts, and when they are dropped, they share them like wildfire. I did not see this Tiny Desk concert from an ad by NPR, an email from NPR. No, I saw this Tiny Desk concert because a lot of my friends and also people that I follow on social media were posting about it. So if you are creating the events, experiences, and content that your audience really craves, desires, and demands, they will be the best part of your marketing strategy. They will be the most effective part of your marketing campaign because they will shout it from the rooftops without you even telling them. So the takeaway there is, if we know our audience really, truly well and we deliver something that is going to incite them and just make them shout from the rooftops, they've done half the work for us. We don't have to do this super elaborate marketing campaign. We can just say, hey guys, here's the event. and they'll take it and run with it. I saw a little bit of that with the Evolve conference that Swap Card managed a week or so ago, because people were posting about it. They used Snowball as part of their marketing campaign and encouraged attendees to share. And I did see a lot of that, like on LinkedIn and Instagram, people were sharing that they were attending the conference. So I think when we create the experiences our audience really wants, sometimes they are the best part of our marketing campaign and will do all the legwork for us, if you will. Now, what lessons can we take away from Kirk specifically? Now, like I mentioned earlier, Kirk Franklin, his biggest hits, his most well-known gospel songs were largely in the 90s and a couple in the early 2000s as well. And what I take away from that is nostalgia can just be such a driver of excitement, a driver of engagement. And how can we utilize nostalgia to our benefit, right? So let's look at our audiences. Let's look at, the things that happened 20, 30 years ago in our industry, and how can we use that either in our marketing collateral, use that in our content, kind of, a riff on the old becomes new and vice versa. But using nostalgia to our advantage, I think, can really using nostalgia to our advantage can really activate our audience to just dig into our content with both hands, jump in head first because they're so excited and it's just lit a piece of them inside that they didn't even realize that they had missed. So using nostalgia is key. And lastly, here's the other point that I think is really key from Kirk Franklin's Tiny Desk. Anyone that is familiar with Kirk Franklin and his music, you know that he is who everyone knows. Everyone knows Kirk Franklin, right? But the funny thing is, he is not the singer on any of his albums or his records. I think maybe his first album or two, he sang some, but Kirk Franklin is a writer and a producer and choir director. So essentially what he does is he goes out, he finds the best talent, amazing voices in gospel music, he finds amazing talent in the industry, and he writes music, so he writes a plan, and he arranges it. He directs them to create these hits, these mega well-known songs in the gospel industry. So how does that correlate for an event planner? We have the same role. We are nothing without our team. Everyone has a role. Kirk Franklin has usually at a minimum 12 voices, and sometimes he's had full choirs on his albums and records. So everyone has a role. He relies on a team. So even though his name is the one on the marquee, his name is the one on the album, his name is the one that everyone recognizes, if he didn't have these amazing voices, and if he didn't arrange them the way that he did and lead them the way that he does, I don't know if we'd be talking about Kirk Franklin like we are, right? So as an event planner, it's really on us to go out and find the best vendors, the best talent, but also making sure that everyone works together in harmony. Kirk Franklin is known for his harmonies. His groups harmonizing together is like the magic behind his music. So how do we coordinate all of these different vendors to just work together seamlessly? And how do we arrange them? What is the plan that we put together for them to execute upon, right? So your event is only as good as the team or the choir or the ensemble that you put together to deliver it. I hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't checked it out, I highly suggest watching the Kirk Franklin Tiny Desk. And like I said, I will post the link to that video below. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.